Greetings everybody. In this week's episode of Stories for Us, I talk with Elizabeth Original Kerry Jolly, whose family first arrived in Elizabeth way back in 1964. Her ancestry, however, is not connected to the 10-pound pom movement, but rather her ancestors first arrived in South Australia way back in 1849. Her family history is a tale of convicts and pioneers and ancestors who were transported from Ireland to Tasmania for the sole purpose of being married off to the menfolk. It's an amazing history. I had a lot of fun putting this together. Kerry was absolutely delightful. Enjoy.
We were little kids and we lived in Carisbrook Park because when we came up from Narracourt, we lived in a housing trust house in the Downs, but Dad had got a job at Salisbury Council whereas before he was working on the roads. So we came up here, lived in the housing trust house, and then Dad was offered to stay in Carisbrook because they needed a caretaker. So we all lived in Carisbrook, the four of us kids, and we just had a good old time.
Yeah.
And then one day Dad was doing some surveying in the back of where we live now, Carisbrook Park, and a man said, "Oh, you've got all these kids there. You've got, a nice dog." Because we all walked around with the dog as well. And then he said, "Are you looking for a house?" And Dad said, "I would if I had some money." And the bloke said, "I'll loan you the money. You can buy my house if you want to buy my house. You can have the money to buy my house, but it'd be exorbitant interest." This is the cricket pitch that my dad built in the side of our house.
Wow.
My
cool.
dad built a cricket pitch because
his kids wanted a cricket pitch.
We were all cricket rampant. We were all rampant. My dad was involved in a lot of cricket and sport in the northern districts, and he coached a lot of junior cricket. He actually got an OAM for his support to sport in the northern districts. And my brother played Sheffield Shield cricket. Here we are. Look at me here. Yeah, my brother was involved in sports administration, played Sheffield Shield cricket, moved down south, getting lots of awards for doing things down south in his old Christmas photos. Look at us here. Funny things we were. Kerry Jolly school uniform.
And this kitchen, that's
the original, the first kitchen that my dad built in the old house.
Oh, he built it?
He built the kitchen.
Oh.
He built the kitchen inside the house because it was all old. So Dad was one of those people who'd come home from work and he'd say, "Oh, I think I might just build a dining room there. Oh, I might just build a laundry there. I think we need an extra bedroom." And he'd just build it up. And Mum would come home from work and go, "Oh, God, what's he done now?" He would just do that. It was a funny thing.
And where were your parents from? Because you didn't come from England, did you?
No, my mother was a city girl. She grew up in Glenelg. She went to Adelaide Girls High School. And there was quite a checkered background in her family, and I won't tell you about that. But her mother left the majority of her children, taking only my mother, and then went to live in Kaipo Forest. So then they moved to the southeast. They moved to the southeast of South Australia eventually when my mother was about 12. And it was a big culture shock for my mother. But she grew up in a bag hut. She made a hut made of sugar bags, and they killed kangaroos and had a great time out there. And she eventually went nursing in the southeast and met my father because he was a country bloke and grew up in Kaibi-Bolai and Narracourt in the southeast. When my mother had her production line, and we were all born within 6 years of each other, the four of us, and when Dad was getting a bit high up in the highways department and Mum wanted us to get back to the city so that we had more opportunities. So we came to Elizabeth Downs in 1964.
Wow.
And all of our heritage, the Jolly family came here in 1849. The Mum's family came here in 1852. and her great-grandfather was Frank W. Lundy, and he was on the Adelaide City Council, and he was my grandmother who went astray's father. So we didn't get involved in the Parkside side of life.
Right. And when you say, your ancestors came here, you mean in the north of Adelaide? They were in the Northern Plains area?
No, they went to the country. So they went to Port Lincoln.
Okay, right.
They went to Strathalbyn. They went to Finnis, Highmarsh Island. There was one who was a convict, and he went to Tasmania.
Right.
My mother's side, they were from Germany, from Prussia, and they came here to establish Lutheran schools in the Barossa. Their name was Hasloff.
Right.
So there's a big old blend of us up here. And then we went to school, and went to school, Elizabeth Vale Primary School, and everybody was from England, and they all sort of said, what part of England do you come from? And I'd say Australia. But your grandparents, where did they come from? Australia. And where did your great-grandparents come from? Australia. But now everybody says to you, you sound like you're English, but it's because everybody around us spoke Pom.
With an English accent.
Yeah, they all just said, you've got to go to Blackpool to see the illuminations. And the man across the road was from Somerset. He said, everybody spoke this foreign language, and you just got it, didn't you? You just took it on board and engulfed it.
And what was your impressions of Elizabeth when you first arrived here? Because you arrived as a young girl with your family, yes?
Yeah, it was muddy. It was muddy. I can remember walking to school with my sisters who, 2 and 4 years older than me, and my little brother who had his little trikey thing. And I can remember being in the Housing Trust house in Loftus Road and walking with Mum, because she didn't work then. She worked when my brother was 9. She started back at work. And I can remember going to meet my sisters coming home from school, walking across the muddy paddocks. And it was, my sisters in the green and white check uniform, and me wanting to have a check uniform like that. And then when I did go to school, I had my own little case, which I've still got. And, I wasn't to start until the beginning of the year, because that's what happened then. You had to wait.
Yep.
And then I went to school and I hated it. It was just horrible.
Oh.
Because it was scary. I wanted to be at home with my family.
Yeah.
We didn't go to kindy back then.
Plus you were the only Australian.
No, it's not. We're all plus our whole family were Australian, but nobody else was.
That's right.
But at school, there weren't just Poms. There were some Italian people when I were in there. And my best friend in primary school was a girl who was Welsh, and she taught me how to knit. And then we had to drink that stupid milk in crates, and I hated that.
Oh, no, I had chocolate-flavoured straws.
Oh, I hated it. You were rich. I hated it. It stank. It used to make me feel sick. And there were all those boys that were like the milk monitors that really liked being the milk monitors. I just hated it. It was stinky stuff. I'd go to school and just ache to go home again and go play down the creek or, read my book. I was a bit of a reader. And we all used to read, and we'd go to the library, and we were taught the value of reading from our parents. And school was just like something you went to. It was, because our real life was at home. I told my mum that I was going to the library after school one day when I was in high school, and she let me go through all that lie and then said, "But the library's closed on Tuesday. Where were you?" I was actually at the centre with my boyfriend, having a good time. I was such a quiet, shy thing, I tried not to do things too wrong because my mother would know straight away.
Yeah.
She'd know, she had eyes in the back of her head. Even if she was in an altered universe, she would know where I was. So she knew everything about everybody.
And everyone in Elizabeth knew everyone, and they would dob on you too.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. Yeah. It's true, Mum, the feelers were out, and it was like a village. It was sort of like a village. Yeah. The people across the road, though, they were from a foreign land. Like Mrs. Doyle across the road with a fag. She was something straight out of Coronation Street. She had the fag, she had the hairnet, she had the crimpling trousers, she had the big veranda, and you'd go over there and she'd say, "Oh, Caddy," she'd crap on about those illuminations. Then she'd sort of have this fag in her mouth, and she offered you a chocolate eclair or something on the thing, and like a big bit of ash would drop in the chocolate eclair, and like you go, ugh, you know. They were just different. You know, Mum was busy making good fresh food, you know, chooks, eggs, growing her own vegetables, all of this stuff. And then there were all these other people that liked food out of packages better than real food. It was quite odd. You know. So.
And what is your favourite, happiest memory?
Oh. What?
Doesn't have to be in Elizabeth, just in your life.
In my life, my favourite, happiest memory.
Meeting me. No.
so many happy memories. Oh,
it's such a wonderful.
Oh, I'm really lucky. Yeah. My life is so full and so lovely. My happiest memory. Oh, I've got too many to choose from, but I
well, not excluding the others. Just tell us about one.
I think it has to be my dad. My dad is like the man that I loved more than any other person in the whole world, and I couldn't possibly exist without him. And when he died, it was just, my heart died. Being with Dad, watching Dad, I love the way my dad moved. I love the way my dad spoke to other people. I wanted to be my dad because my dad was happy and always good to people, always giving of himself, always doing whatever. And my mum being so capable, I just wanted to be with my mum and dad. I wanted to be with my family, always. I've always wanted to be there. When I went on my first honeymoon, I was so lonely, I wanted to go home.
Oh no.
I want to be with my mum and dad. And I think, you know, like one of the startling things that ever happened to me was meeting Gordon, my current partner, and finding out that he came from Elizabeth too. It was I was so shocked when I met him, and it changed my whole world. It's changed my life meeting him. You know, I could not imagine my life now without him. But before I met him, he was always there on the outskirts somewhere. I just hadn't had the chance to meet him. And when I met him, that was like a thunderbolt.
Yeah.
It was terrible. It was a terrible feeling. My heart died then as well. I thought, oh no. Another man. I don't need another man in my life. Why am I attracted to him? It was like that. So
that is so great.
That was startling. That was a startling moment for me.
Beautiful. Kerry, thank you for talking to me.
Oh, sorry. Sorry if I
No. It's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Get on to Moya. She's got